Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. I love you all. My name is miahtheking, and I gave my handyman a to-do list, but he only did jobs 1, 3, and 5. Turns out he only does odd jobs. Now then, thanks so much for clicking on my video, and if you're wondering why you clicked on my video, then perhaps it's because of the funny one-liner joke at the beginning, or perhaps it's because I'm one of the few viewers out there who can help you figure out if you need a game in 10 minutes or less. So, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Highway Police Simulator, a game where you play as a highway policeman. Developed by Z Software and published by Aerosoft GmbH, I think. Released not in early access, according to Steam, and selling for $30. Now, what even is this game? Well, you play as Officer Marshall, who is escorting a prison bus when it's suddenly hijacked and ransacked. Now you're part of the force to try and locate the key criminal who was rescued while maintaining your job as a cop. And that's pretty much it for the story, but the game does allow you to customize the look and backstory of your character in probably the laziest way possible with a really crappy customizer, but at least they have one, I guess. So now, as always, let's go into the good and the bad, starting off first with the good. So the first positive point for me was the idea. Now, I don't know about a lot of you out there, but ever since I played Grand Theft Auto some 15 years ago, I've desperately wanted a game similar to it, but from the perspective of a cop. I love the idea of mixing real-life simulation elements into the Grand Theft Auto world, only instead of playing as a criminal with all the strings of criminal gangs, relationships, and plots, it'd be as a cop with the whole shebang. Days off where you gotta go play bowling with Dimitri, and on working days you pull over vehicles for speeding 2 miles over the limit, as well as being part of a massive, dangerous gang takedowns. You know, the same size as Grand Theft Auto, but as a cop. So anytime I see a game like this out there, I'm already immediately interested, hoping that someday someone will finally give me a good cop life simulator game like that. So I love the idea here. And last but not least for the positives is the sound design. It's okay for the most part. It's not awful, but it's not great in any particular way either. The voice acting is hit or miss, but at least they have some. The sound effects are decent enough, and while in-game there's almost no music, so I can't even really judge it. But overall, I can't call the sound design that bad, so that's why it's here in the positives. However, those are the only things in this game that it really has going for it. So now we gotta go into the bad, but before that, have you ever wondered what it would be like to be in some mystical fantasy land serving as the King's Royal Guard? Well, now I can offer you exactly that. Join my Royal Guard. Just click the subscribe button and you become part of it. And make sure you hit that little bell down there too, because it lets you know whenever I post content, and I review random games at very random times, and you never know when I'm gonna review a game that you've been missing out on your whole life, so hit that bell and stay informed. Now then, on to the negatives. Pretty much everything else about this game is negative. But to be fair, I'll go into a brief detail about everything wrong with this game so that way you can be the judges yourself. The first negative is the price tag. There is no chance in hell this game is worth $30. With the graphics, stability, gameplay lacking, empty world, and I'll go into even more later, but yeah, this just is not worth their 30 bucks. Maybe 15 at most. And so I have a big problem with that ridiculous price tag. The next negative point is the graphics, as I just mentioned. The game is lacking contrast, attention to detail, rendering, lighting, and shadow quality, and I could obviously just keep going on for days about the graphics. The game looks awful in every frickin' way. Now, typically, I can ignore crappy graphics if the gameplay is legit, but it's not here, which is leading us to the next negative, so the graphics, bad. But now the gameplay. It's got a good idea. Like, basically, you drive around the map or fast travel around the map to different 911 calls, and then you do your job as a cop, basically. The job itself is actually rather in-depth, with checking a license, registration, and proof of insurance, inspecting the cars, asking questions, checking for evidence, and there's, of course, bigger events of things where they have the same, like, checklist of stuff you gotta go down and do to make it feel realistic, like you're actually progressing a crime investigation or whatever. So, yeah, a lot of the gameplay of doing the actual job is actually rather in-depth. You have to sketch out the accidents, file the reports, arrest subjects, etc., etc. So when you're actually investigating a possible crime, the gameplay is legit in a weird way. However, everything else about the gameplay is boring and badly designed. It does have dialogue options, which I like, a good and evil morality system, which also I like, so, you know, you could be a corrupt cop or not, relationship building with gangs or others, but not characters, because, you know, we don't want it to be too realistic, different weapon unlocks, vehicle unlocks, and more. So there's plenty here, and for the most part, it's not terrible, but the overall gameplay design of what you're doing every minute and where and how they're all pretty awkward and just boring. With no music, barely any ambiance, the driving gets boring quick, only for you to show up and do a 30-second traffic stop and give the guy a warning and let him go. In a way, I like how each traffic stop is a quest marker and gives you direction, but on the other hand, it also takes the spontaneous nature out of it and makes it feel rather boring. And there's a lack of immersion in everything. Like, when you get to the traffic stop, you're not actually pulling somebody over, he's already pulled over. And then when you finish the traffic stop and you wrote him a ticket or you gave him a warning or something, he just disappears. Like, you don't even see him drive off. So it takes the life out of it. It makes it feel less immersive and less like you're simulating playing as a cop, because you're not seeing the people coming and going. And that's a little bit disconcerting. Next up for the negatives is the stability and the controls. Both are shit. The game froze on me several times, it glitched on me several times, as I'm sure you've seen in the video so far, and you're gonna see later in the video, because I'm not cutting them out, as it is impossible to play for very long without encountering a bug. I was dropping frames left and right, glitching left and right, clipping left and right, and it's barely even holding together at this point. As for the controls, when you're out of your vehicle, it's pretty straightforward, but inside your vehicle, it's very weird. The car doesn't drive like you'd think or want it to if you've ever played games with driving like this. The car, it feels like it autocorrects, and it doesn't drift or turn naturally like a car. It just kind of goes straight, and then you adjust the straight velocity you're moving in, and you're just adjusting its trajectory. It feels like it's on rails almost. You can't look around freely with the mouse while in the car either, unless you're holding the right click, which is just dumb design. And check this out. Did you just see how easily my car just got totally demolished? I mean, look at this damn thing. I barely touched the guy. So, with the game's controls being fairly awkward, along with the constant freezing, glitching, clipping, and stuttering, it was just impossible to have any fun at all. So here's the thing. This game is pretty much just an epic fail, in my opinion. It fails in almost every single regard. The story is boring, fail. The characters uninteresting, fail. The gameplay awkward, fail. The stability unplayable, fail. The graphics ugly, fail. The sound design is mostly decent, The price tag is unacceptable, replayability almost non-existent, and the idea slightly interesting. So, you know, it's not complete crap. It's probably a 2 out of 10 for the fact that they got a couple things right with the design. But let this video just be a warning to you out there to just avoid this game. Remember, it's not saying early access on the Steam store page, which means it is very likely that the game devs aren't going to add more content or reliably fix any of the problems with the game. They're just going to take your money. And even if that wasn't enough, the game just simply isn't good enough to be worth $30. Now maybe, if it was early access, and it still had a year or two of development needed, and these were developers who have a trusted history of actually putting in the effort, maybe they could actually turn this game into something interesting, but I'm going to tell you, no developer deserves your trust, they don't deserve my trust, so I'm not gonna bet on them. I'm not gonna assume they're gonna do the right thing, because I've been let down more than 100 times by video game developers, and I'm not gonna fall for it again. So, no, I obviously don't recommend this game. I highly encourage you to just walk away from this game and pretend it never existed. Even if you're super interested in it, go find something else. It's not worth your money and it's not worth your time. Alright, everybody? Alright, so that's all the time I got for today. Thanks so much for watching, with a special thanks to those of you who stuck around to the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.